Well, thanks very much for the invitation to join you here. And the primary reason I'm running as a candidate, independent candidate, is because Australia is at the crossroads. The Prime Minister is borrowing the money every week to pay the public service, and we are in real trouble financially. We have no industry anymore. All of that's closed down. The largest employer was the car industry, and General Motors has demolished the site. We have no fruit canning industry or vegetable canning industry. That's all closed down as well. We have the appalling situation of young men in Tasmania with children and families, wives, that have never had a job. Everything is closed down. The boot factory's gone, the tyre factory's gone, the jam factory's gone. There's nothing left in Tasmania. I'm not so sure about Cadbury's, whether they are still there.
Yes.
Thankfully there's one factory still going. But that's the situation we're in. And the other difficulty that's happened, or successive governments have done, is ignored what creates wealth for Australia. We've had no development since the Snowy scheme to drought-proof Australia. And one of my goals is to drought-proof New South Wales for a start. And I would like to build a dam, Snowy scheme, on the Nimboida River and drought-proof the Murray-Darling. So instead of complaining about cotton growers stealing all the water, I want to put some water in the Murray-Darling, and so we won't have that problem. There are some appalling statements made by some of our politicians who blame the cotton growers for no water in the Murray-Darling, and yet they don't realise that all their clothing they wear is made of cotton. Everything I'm wearing tonight is made of cotton. And I'm one of the few politicians that's actually worked in the bush as an ordinary Australian. And it's my first love. And similarly, I want to do something up in Queensland. I want to build snowy type schemes up there. Now there's three advantages of this. First of all, it'll supply electricity. And the second one, it'll drought proof and provide irrigation water for farming. And the reason I'm so obsessed about farming is that there are 65 million refugees in the world, and if they all turned up here, which is quite likely, we should be in a position where we can feed them. And my father's generation didn't fight a war to have people locked up in a concentration camp that we do now. And if these people are so bad, why isn't the Australian Army guarding them rather than a private industry organisation that's doing it now? Repatriate these people or let them come here or deport them, but not have them in a concentration camp. So it's something that Australia has to address. We, the Australian people, have to address that. 65 million refugees. To give you some idea of the unemployment problem worldwide, there are 25 million applicants for 90,000 jobs on Indian railways, and they are not good jobs. That figure came from the BBC, which I listen to every night for an hour or so. So Australia needs to be in a position where we can address everything worldwide. The other thing, most Australian families have somebody that's served in the First World War. And if you go over to France and the battlefields, and I was planning on doing that, never made it. But my nephew did, and he told me that all around the battlefields of Arras and so on, there are signs of "N'oublions jamais Australie." Probably the only thing I can say in French properly. But it means never forget Australia. Now, whatever our blokes did, and I've got some idea, we are still remembered. Every anniversary, the children all march out and have a little ceremony. "N'oublions jamais Australie." I want Australia to be back in that position. Back where countries other than us can say, never forget Australia, as to what we want to do for the rest of the world. We have a duty to the rest of the world. We owe what we have now to men like Billy Hughes. Now, Sir Charles Cowper was a great mate of Billy Hughes, and I heard an interview the two of them did once back in, Billy was around in about 1924, and Billy tells the story that when he first came to Australia, he was a station hand, by the way, And the other Prime Minister that contributed the most to Australia was Ben Chifley, who was a steam engine driver. I said to a group of young people